You know, when I look around at all the entrepreneurs who are grinding it out, spending 70 to 80 hours per week growing their business, you have to ask yourself the question, at what cost? Hi, my name's Tim Uchuk, and in this podcast, we're going to be exploring the tools, tactics, and strategies for crushing it and scaling your business without making the ultimate sacrifice of your time and freedom. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Friday at the time of this recording, and I just got off our Friday weekly coaching call, and something came up that I think you might be able to benefit from, one of our conversations here today. So I'm just on my way to grab some lunch, and then I'm going to work at a coffee shop this afternoon. And just to fill you in on, on last night in terms of timing, I don't know if you guys saw the Tesla. Elon Musk did a presentation on the Cybertruck last night, the Cybertruck, and it's got this like exoskeleton skin on it and is apparently impenetrable. It looks like something that would be belongs on the surface of Mars, but it's actually their truck, which is aimed to disrupt the pickup truck industry, the F-150 he called out several times. So if you haven't seen it, the Cybertruck looks pretty darn cool. So much so, I put down a small deposit on it last night. It's going to be out in 2022, I think. Anyways, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It looks very cool, and opinions are mixed as to whether it's a good looking truck or not, but it's definitely, the thing looks like it looks alien. So anyways, getting back to today's coaching call, what we discussed, and this particular client, they are a construction company, and they specialize in building like assisted living communities. So those big projects, retirement homes, assisted living, and that's kind of their focus. And they come in and they take on these massive projects. And so the challenge that we talked about, the focus, and I think this is it's probably one of the biggest areas that I think leaders and entrepreneurs struggle with, is letting go. And specifically in this role, it's letting go of some of the key areas that that he is the guy pulling the levers just to make sure that the business is moving forward cost effectively, the crews are safe, and so on. And the challenge is letting go and hiring his first leader who's going to be kind of running the show for these projects, which is going to save up his time for actually growing the business, getting out there and building the book of business for future projects and so on, which is where his time should be on right now. And here's the advice that I gave him in our coaching call today. And where I think most businesses get this wrong, this is a huge opportunity where if you just understand this one concept, I think it's going to be really, really helpful. So when it comes to communicating and articulating the responsibilities of a team member, it could be anyone in your business, right? Most most coaches will tell you, most consultants will tell you that we got to focus on the results and start measuring your team. So for example, your sales team, give them targets for sales, targets for meetings, targets for quotes, and so on. But sorry, a phone call just came in. They stopped there, and this is where the problem really comes in, because you're almost opening the door to bad behavior. And this is where the biggest fear is. Even if the numbers look good, it's possible to get good numbers and still have risk when it comes to the behaviors not being met. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you've got a sales guy who's doing really well, but he refuses to use your CRM system, meaning that all of his meetings, all of his notes, all of your leads, right? That's your company's information. If they're not ever putting that stuff in, number one, let's say that they decide to take off, or they get hit by a bus, and you're left with putting together the pieces of the puzzle in terms of, okay, what deals was this person working on, and where are they at, and what's this person's telephone number. So that behavior could be missed if you're just focusing on the results, meaning how much are you selling and closing. So it's a huge risk. And so the right way to go about it is, yes, we need to focus on the results and the measurables. And so again, if it's in sales, you You can measure how many meetings they're having per week, and sales. If it's another area of the business, say finance, you can look at your cash flow, your receivables, and so on. Right? You can measure these results. Here's where the gap is. It's the behaviors. So you want to focus on the results, but of equal, if not in many cases more importance, is the behaviors, and I'll tell you what I mean. So the behaviors in that sales example that I talked about are filling out the CRM properly. So what does that mean? Well, we want to make it, I talked about this in a previous podcast. You want to make it as black and white as possible. Take away the gray. And this is where we document the process, is to say, okay, when we say um, utilizing the software properly, our CRM properly, it means always putting in the first name, always putting in the last name, always putting in the email, always putting in details around a meeting, so meeting notes, always having a next action. So you specify what it means. What does that behavior mean? And this is where you can document it and reference it, so that when you guys are having check-in conversations where you're coaching your team, you can point to the behaviors in their job description and say, when it comes to, we were talking, one of his fears was safety, right? So what are the results in safety are things like safety incidences, for example, right? The behaviors are things like onboarding. So everybody in the crew, 100% of the crew, before they even step foot on site, needs to be properly onboarded. So that's one of the behaviors. Another behavior is, filling out the paperwork, let's say on a daily, weekly basis. If there's safety paperwork, that's a behavior that should be their responsibility, and it should be communicated in that way. And I think, so what we're talking about here is probably one of the biggest gaps where people are afraid to let go, because they are hoping and that the person is just going to get it. They're just going to understand the behaviors that are wanted if they care enough. But in the absence, here's the thing, in the absence of the correct behaviors, I would say more times than not, it's not from lack of caring, it's lack of understanding what you're looking for. And so if you just stick on, okay, go out there and sell, or go out there and get the results and try hard, you want to really drill down on the behaviors. And so look at, if you're letting go of something, what are the behaviors that you look for currently, and you might just take for granted, but if you're wanting to let go, what are those behaviors that are really, really, make it or break it when it comes to performing this job? And then what is the success criteria, so that you can make it black and white, and you can have a conversation around it with that person, so that if it's out of whack, you can actually support them in a very intentional way on follow-up conversations. You can say, okay, let's talk about safety. Now, we've outlined all of these behaviors, filling out the paperwork on a daily or weekly basis, making sure that everybody's onboarded properly. And I can see that we've got 2 people that got started, and they didn't go through our safety training. So what happened there? How can I support you? So, right, you're having a conversation around something that you've formalized and you've made like really black and white. This is the role. It's not just the targets. It's not just having a title. It's fulfilling these behaviors, these specific behaviors, and making it really, really clear on what those behaviors look like, so that they can, the gift you're giving to them, they can finish a day or finish a week and look back and say, I did a great job, because the behaviors were in alignment and the results are there as well to show for it. So I hope that makes sense, the distinction between the behaviors and the results, right? A behavior is something that you can, it's like something that you can measure on the spot. A behavior is something that you can watch over time, if that makes sense. So again, a result is sales. The behavior is, having the meetings, going through the script in the right way if you guys have a sales script. Those are the behaviors that you want, which are going to contribute to that result. So I hope that's helpful, hope that's useful. That's what we talked about today in terms of letting go, is the more that you can narrow that gap in understanding in terms of the specific behaviors that will lead to success in any given role, is really going to clean up a lot of the stress and struggle when it comes to letting go and setting your team up for success. So hope that's helpful. Hope you guys are going to enjoy the rest of your day, your week, wherever you are, whenever you're listening to this, and I will talk to you soon. Hey, Tim Uchuk here, and real quick, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, if you could take a couple quick seconds to give it a rating, it would be very much appreciated. And secondly, if you're looking for more tools and strategies on how you can crush it in life and business, just head on over to bookwithtim.com, where I've put together a free case study which shows you how to unlock unprecedented freedom today by using the 2 power levers. Just head on over to bookwithtim.com. Until next time, wishing you success and freedom in your business. Cheers.